These are the cases we're going to get this year. This is the type of casework we'll be looking at. The smuggling of these traditional Chinese medicines, which have a real impact on our wild stocks of these animals. We've also got illegal ivory importation, and this ivory is a huge issue, and we'll be looking at a lot of cases, both identifying with DNA what elephant species we've got, but also using other forensic techniques to age the ivory, because that's another important consideration for ivory prosecutions. Once we apply ultraviolet light to that gel, it shows the actual DNA smear itself. And only by doing this do we know exactly what the quality of the DNA is. And that allows us to assess how much we should use for the downstream processes. Bear is used a lot in traditional Chinese medicine, as are tigers, tiger bones and tiger products. So these are animals that are killed specifically for the medicinal use. And of course, tigers are such a conservation concern that we're really not particularly happy with that happening. So we need to help police officers and customs officers be able to detect these sorts of products so that they can effectively prosecute people. Customs need to know what that is, whether they should confiscate that or whether they should prosecute somebody for bringing through entire bear skins. Bear meat as well, there's a tin of meat. Clearly it's got a bear on the side of it, but that doesn't really mean anything. A lot of these could be logos. So again, we'd have to get some of that meat out, test that, identify that the meat in there was actually bear. Again, this one's got a nice friendly picture of a bear, but in actual fact, these are caged bears from bear farms, and a catheter is actually inserted into the gallbladder, and the bear bile is dripped off. You can see these sorts of tubes, that's bear bile. A lot of bird breeding goes on in the UK. The falcon market is huge around the world. People want these very nice birds for hunting, especially in the Arab countries where they're worth up to £10,000 per bird. We're off to meet Charlie Everett, who's basically the Scottish representative of the National Wildlife Crime Unit. So Charlie's a serving police officer with Lothian and Borders Police.
This is a nest that has been robbed for the last 16 years whenever the peregrines have tried to nest on this site. The police have tried to put in various measures to try and catch the person responsible, but unfortunately none of them have been successful. So this year we decided to put a community watch in place. Peregrine falcon chicks can raise £20,000 per chick if you knew where to take them to and it was the right type of specimen. And what we have here is a peregrine's nest that has 4 chicks in it. The introduced chick was taken from a person who was in the UK airport, and he was caught when they thought he was acting suspiciously and found to be holding 14 eggs on his body, which were taken off him.
A mouth swab sample is actually taken from these chicks, and that can later be used should that chick turn up anywhere in the trade or in any captive breeding environment. We can track that back to being at this specific location. We're off to SSPCA, which is the Scottish Society for Protection of Cruelty to Animals.
This dog was seized as part of a wider operation whereby police were investigating the death of a number of eagles. On searching houses and kennels, this dog was found in a kennel block. The injury that you can see there is consistent with badger fighting. As a result of that, we obtained a search warrant, went into the house and recovered a whole load of paraphernalia and evidence relating to badger baiting. As you can see, his injuries are fairly extensive. Basically what happens, the badger attacks the dog from underneath and has a gripping, tearing-like motion and pulls the skin off the muscle, and that is not repairable. So you can see there that injury, although it looks pretty horrendous, has been treated and won't be causing the dog any more discomfort. These dogs are routinely left without any veterinary treatment, and this dog didn't receive any veterinary treatment. It was badly infected, and that dog went through a lot of suffering as a result of that injury, as you can see. The baiting is what's seen as almost the sport between the dog versus a badger. It's a horrendous, primitive and very, very cruel activity, which many people think has gone or disappeared, but we've found there is a significant amount of people that are involved in this activity.
So what's going to happen to him now?
He's been rehomed. Some of the dogs make excellent family pets. The difficulty is that they can sometimes show aggression towards other animals, but I think Bob's by and large okay, eh?
This is what a DNA sequence looks like. Basically, it's measuring the fluorescence of these 4 different colours. So this string of letters, A, G, G, C, G, C, T, C, T, this is our barcode, or this is our sequence for this specific gene region we're looking at. And it will only match with the animal that it's come from. So that's how from a skin sample or fur sample, we can extract the DNA, recover this DNA code, and then compare that code to a database. If somebody was involved in badger baiting and they had blood on them, we could recover that blood, identify that as badger, and put them in the location and match that to the specific badger that was involved in that case. So it's a very, very powerful, very, very robust and pretty much unquestionable technique in court. Dog DNA, for example, has very recently convicted somebody of murder a couple of months ago, where somebody in London was chased down by dogs and stabbed to death. And it was the DNA recovered from the dog saliva of the victim that was used to convict the suspect. So we're going down to where they do the pesticide analysis, and this is one of only 2 facilities in the UK that carry out this work. And the problem is the conflict between birds of prey, which are wild animals, and sporting estates, such as grouse shooting or pheasant shooting. The problem is people will lay out poisoned baits, and these will kill these birds of prey species, and these birds of prey species are protected and in some cases endangered. So it's a very nasty crime, it's a very dangerous crime, because obviously it's not just birds of prey that will eat this bait. There's been plenty of cases of dogs being killed by, and kids being in the vicinity of this bait as well. So this is a suspected golden eagle poisoning.
Once we get it into the laboratory, we'll remove digestive tract material and the liver, look for any poisons that may be in the system of the bird.
All the golden eagles in Scotland are all monitored, and every year there's a collection of feathers from nests and actual mouth swabs of the chicks for newly born golden eagles, and they're all DNA profiled. So we were able to show that the actual golden eagle that was found was the golden eagle of that territory. This is a very rare bird indeed, and you can see the ring as well. You can see that this has actually been monitored, this bird, so they'll know a lot of details about where this was born and where this is from and what age it is. There's 2 effective labs in the world that do this sort of work. One's based in the US, and it's very much a US-based entity. And what we've been doing with our techniques is pushing them out to the countries around the world. So we are the key people in the world for doing these sorts of techniques and for encouraging everyone else to use these techniques as well. For the last 7 years, we've been working on these kind of projects, and only yesterday we found out we've got funding to create this wildlife DNA forensic laboratory specifically for wildlife crime. So we're establishing this. This is the start of it. This lab begins to do casework in September of 2010, and for the first time the UK will be able to kind of really push these prosecutions for wildlife crime offences.